Hello, Minh Le Quan. You're the chairman of Nexus. Thank you for joining us today. Could you tell our viewers what suppressed demand actually is?
Thank you for hosting me today, Francesca. So about suppressed demand, that is a very important concept to push forward in the COP here. You may be aware that the Kyoto Protocol set up the Clean Development Mechanism. That is a financial mechanism to support technology transfers, clean development in developing countries. But so far, this instrument has been quite unsuccessful in reaching the poor and achieving the development of CDM. And it must be known that there is still many people on this planet, 1.6 billion people living in energy poverty. And so far the Clean Development Mechanism has not managed to reach them.
But what is suppressed demand?
So that is an attempt at solving this problem. Right now the CDM has a flow. It is based on emissions. And the mechanism is geared on bringing finance to reduce the level of pollution. However, many people on this planet are not yet at the stage of polluting. They are too poor to pollute. And that raises a quite ethical question whether the CDM should work for people who pollute already, and why should we allow development to be dirty before we can finance it to get clean? So the issue of suppressed demand is an attempt to fix that. And by suppressed demand, we look at the demand for energy services that is not met. And that can be demand for heating in cold regions or cooking energy. And people walk kilometers today in many countries to collect firewood. And you may know that water equates to energy, clean drinking water. And even today, right now, there's many people don't have access to safe and clean drinking water because of lack of access to energy.
Okay. So what do you see as the way forward from where you're standing?
Well, there are some steps taken in the CDM that we need to push much further. Of course, the UN Declaration of Human Rights acknowledges basic essential rights such as the right to food, to water, to shelter. And just to give you an example, people in the Himalayas, in very cold regions, are heating their homes with cow dung. And collecting cow dung, drying it, and then burning it most of the time inefficiently in houses that are not insulated. Therefore, during the winter months, the average temperature doesn't exceed 9 degrees, with temperatures below freezing point during the night, even though they are heating their homes. So it's possible. There are many projects which are trying to improve the situation with insulation, solar passive houses, and that can improve drastically the level of comfort to an average of 16 degrees. And without increasing the level of emissions, people use the same quantity of warming fuel, but they get access to a much better level of comfort. So for this type of project to make it into the CDM, we need that element of suppressed demand to be taken on board. People today are too poor to pollute. To get financing for these projects, projects that would avoid emissions. But
okay. So you're talking about a prioritization method, a way of prioritizing projects which reach the very poorest. And is that what you think the CDM lacks at the moment?
You touch a very interesting point. Prioritization, of course. We would have loved the CDM to focus only on social and livelihood improvement projects. However, it's not the case now. It's mostly industries who make their bucks into this finance market. However, for the pro-poor and social projects to get in, we need to adjust some of the rules. And taking into account that the poor who are not polluting and who are not really on a developing trend could be eligible if we add this suppressed demand and make it systematic in the CDM methodologies.
Okay, so technically, what needs to happen next in terms of the UN process here?
So we need the executive board of the CDM to acknowledge more firmly the need for suppressed demand, that concept, and to stress it to the DNAs, the national authorities, to the auditing firms, the DOEs, who are clearing the projects and allowing them into the carbon market. And we need that to be stressed more clearly than the current position of the CDM-EB. So there are encouraging signs and steps taken by the CDM-EB that suppressed demand is a very useful concept that would allow least developed countries, and especially Africa, to benefit from the CDM. But we need something more than this acknowledgement and a bit more than what they recommend, which is a case-by-case inclusion of this concept, methodology by methodology, project type by project type. We need something across the board to make it part of the baselines of all the projects that suppress demand or improving the livelihoods of the poor people is a must.
So what do you want to do while you're in Cancun? How are you going to go about pushing this agenda?
So we are not alone on this agenda. Fortunately, there is many development organizations, grassroots, aid agencies, multilateral agencies, who are on the same trail. And so in Cancun, we are gathering forces to develop a joint position to clear this concept. It's a little bit fuzzy, what is exactly suppressed demand, so we need to vulgarize it, make it clearly understandable, and then get it in the resolutions. So I'm not overly optimistic that it would be passed this year, but at least we can gather strengths, develop networks here, and I can make the announcement that GRS will take up the facilitation secretariat of a working group on suppressed demands.
Okay. Well, I wish you all the luck, and I hope it gets sorted for South Africa.
Thank you very much, Francesca.
Okay, thank you.